Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins are heading into the 2025 season with more questions than answers, and perhaps the biggest one looming over the franchise is the future of their star wide receiver, Tyreek Hill. Once seen as the centerpiece of Mike McDaniel's high-octane offense, Hill now finds himself at the center of swirling trade rumors that could signal a dramatic shift in direction for the Dolphins. After an underwhelming 8-9 season in 2024, the team has already parted ways with key names like Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, moves that many believe point to a rebuild rather than a push for a championship. Injuries have ravaged both the offense and defense, and the team's locker room dynamic has been reportedly strained. In this chaotic landscape, Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox dropped a bombshell. Hill could be the next domino to fall. The idea of trading one of the league's most electrifying talents has sparked debate throughout the league and among Dolphins fans alike. According to Knox, the logic is simple but compelling. Hill, who turned 31 in March, is still a game-changing wideout when healthy, but his long-term future in Miami appears murky at best. His contract runs through the 2026 season, but the Dolphins could potentially get out ahead of the curve and capitalize on his value while they still can. His dip in production last season, 959 yards and 6 touchdowns compared to 1,199 yards and 13 scores the year before, is a red flag, especially for a team in flux. While quarterback Tua Tagovailoa's inconsistent health certainly played a role in that decline, Knox argues that another middling season from Hill would significantly lower his trade value. By moving him now, Miami could not only gain draft capital or young talent, but also open up $15 million in cap space to address other glaring needs on the roster. Hill's impact since arriving in Miami in 2022 has been undeniable. In just 3 seasons, he has hauled in 319 receptions for 4,168 yards and 26 touchdowns, earning first-team All-Pro honors twice during that span. His blazing speed, sharp route running, and big playability have made him a nightmare for defenses and a lifeline for Tagovailoa. But the end of the 2024 season brought a cloud over that legacy. Hill publicly stated he was unsure about his future in Miami, and sources close to the team suggested he had grown disillusioned with the direction of the franchise. His body language on the field, reportedly lackluster practice habits, and guarded responses in press conferences have only fueled speculation. Despite his elite resume, Hill now seems more like a luxury than a necessity for a team teetering between a win-now approach and a partial rebuild. The potential trade of Hill would not only reshape Miami's offense, but also send shockwaves through the entire NFL. Teams desperate for a veteran receiver with proven production would be lining up to make a deal. The Kansas City Chiefs, his former team, could entertain a reunion. The Baltimore Ravens, always in need of more firepower for Lamar Jackson, might inquire. Even the New York Jets, with Aaron Rodgers back under center, could see Hill as the missing piece to elevate their offense. The market would be robust, and Miami's front office knows it. But timing is everything. Pull the trigger too late, and the return diminishes. Move too early, and you risk alienating the locker room and punting on a season that still carries some playoff hope if things break right. It's a razor's edge, and general manager Chris Grier will have to tread it carefully. For Mike McDaniel, the looming Hill situation adds another layer of pressure. Once hailed as an offensive genius and players coach, McDaniel now finds himself in a precarious position. He's got a quarterback with durability concerns, a defense missing key pieces, and a wideout possibly headed out the door. If the 2025 campaign starts poorly, McDaniel's seat could get red hot quickly. His system is built around timing, spacing, and elite speed, traits embodied by Hill. Removing that element not only forces a philosophical pivot, but also raises the question: can McDaniel adapt without the cheat code he's had since arriving? In South Florida, if the Dolphins move Hill, they must be confident in their ability to reconfigure the offense, either around younger receivers or through a more balanced run-heavy scheme. It's a gamble with potentially career-defining consequences. Meanwhile, Tagovailoa is entering what could be a make-or-break year. The former Alabama star has shown flashes of brilliance when healthy, but those moments have been undercut by concussions, nagging injuries, and uneven performances. Trading Hill would put more responsibility on Tua's shoulders than ever before. Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson Jr., and emerging tight end Julian Hill would have to step up in a major way to fill the void left by the All-Pro. For Tua, it's an opportunity to prove he's more than a product of Hill's presence. But it also strips him of his most dangerous weapon. If Hill is moved and Tua falters, the Dolphins could be staring down a full-blown reset, including a potential quarterback change in 2026. The pressure is immense, and the front office's decision on Hill could reverberate throughout the entire organization. From a financial standpoint, the numbers add up for a trade. The Dolphins are projected to be tight against the salary cap heading into 2026. And shedding Hill's contract early would offer some much-needed flexibility. At 31, with declining production and some mileage on his legs, Hill's value may never be higher than it is right now. The potential savings could allow the Dolphins to retain key players on expiring deals or dip into free agency to fill holes on the offensive line, linebacker group, or secondary. Knox makes a valid point. Keeping an aging star past his peak rarely pays off. The smart organizations know when to say goodbye, even to beloved figures. If Miami wants to avoid the dreaded too late moment, now might be the right time to explore offers. That doesn't mean it will be popular, but winning in the NFL rarely aligns with sentimentality. The fans naturally are divided. For many, Hill represents hope, excitement, and relevance. His jersey flies off shelves, his highlights dominate social media, and his presence brings national attention to a franchise that has often flown under the radar. Trading him will be an emotional gut punch, especially for younger fans who've only known Hill as a Dolphin. But others see the writing on the wall. They remember the painful contract disputes, the playoff disappointments, and the brief window that appears to be closing. Some are ready to move on, tired of clinging to stars when the supporting cast isn't good enough. It's a debate raging across Dolphins, Twitter, talk radio, and sports bars in South Florida. The decision ultimately lies with the front office, but its impact will be felt far beyond the walls of team headquarters. If Hill is traded, the Dolphins must hit on the return. Draft picks alone won't satisfy a fan base starving for relevance and playoff wins. They'll need young, dynamic talent, either a wideout who can step in immediately or a defensive cornerstone to anchor the next phase of the rebuild. They're saying the optics matter too. Trade Hill for a pair of day 2 picks and critics will scream fire sale. Get a first rounder and a quality player and it looks like a strategic pivot. The narrative hinges on execution. This can't be a repeat of past Dolphins blunders. It has to be smart, calculated, and beneficial in both the short and long term. Anything less, and McDaniel, Greer, and company could all be shown the door come January. The stakes are enormous, and the spotlight on Miami has never been brighter as training camp looms. As the 2025 preseason kicks off, all eyes will be on South Florida. Will Tyreek Hill still be an aqua and orange come week 1? Or will he be suiting up for a contender elsewhere? The decision to trade a player of his caliber isn't just a roster move, it's a statement. It says everything about where the franchise sees itself, what it values, and how it intends to get where it wants to go. For now, Hill remains a Dolphin, but the winds of change are howling. The next few weeks will determine not just his future, but potentially the futures of McDaniel, Tagovailoa, and the entire Dolphins leadership team. For better or worse, the Dolphins are standing at a crossroads, and the decision they make next could define the trajectory of the franchise for years to come. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? There's a new buzz echoing through the corridors of Hard Rock Stadium, and it's growing louder by the day. The Miami Dolphins, a franchise constantly seeking that extra edge to break into elite contention, may have just found their new defensive heart and soul. Rumors swirling out of camp suggest that veteran cornerback Rasul Douglas is stepping into a leadership role on defense and not just by example. This isn't about locker room presence alone. We're talking on-field command, emotional intensity, and football IQ that's turning heads. While Douglas was already known league-wide for his ball-hawking ability and veteran savvy, insiders now claim he's become the vocal orchestrator of Miami's secondary. and perhaps even the entire defense. It's not often that a mid-career cornerback shifts from key contributor to outright tone setter, but that seems to be the case here. Whether this transformation sticks or not, one thing is certain: the Dolphins are paying attention. From whispers inside the Dolphins training facility, Rasul Douglas isn't just giving motivational speeches and mentoring young players. He's reportedly being handed the figurative keys to the defense. Some around the organization are calling him the on-field coordinator, a term rarely thrown around lightly. What makes this so intriguing is that Miami already has a defensive coaching staff filled with strong personalities, yet Douglas's voice is reportedly the one echoing the loudest during practices. Players are responding, and some say they feel a different energy with him leading the charge. There's a seriousness in how he approaches film sessions, demanding perfection, not just from himself, but from every player lining up beside him. Defensive backs are said to be feeding off his intensity, while even linebackers and edge rushers have been spotted gravitating toward his direction between drills. If this dynamic continues, we might be witnessing the beginning of a defensive shift that the league is not yet prepared for. Sources close to the team hint that Douglas's impact is already changing the way Miami is designing its schemes. Reports suggest defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver is leaning into more aggressive coverage strategies, emboldened by Douglas's comfort with man-to-man assignments and his ability to read offensive formations pre-snap. This adaptability allows safeties to take more risks and linebackers to roam freely, knowing Douglas can handle an island assignment on the outside. Coaches are said to be buzzing about his communication skills. He's allegedly calling out offensive plays before the snap based on subtle shifts in alignment and motion, something that only comes with deep study and experience. There's also growing speculation that this shift in defensive philosophy could lead to a more turnover-hungry unit, with Douglas at the epicenter. Whether or not he leads in interceptions, his ability to guide teammates into better positions might make him the unsung hero behind Miami's potential defensive renaissance. Fans might be wondering, how did Rasul Douglas, once considered a solid but unspectacular journeyman, suddenly become the centerpiece of a playoff-caliber defense? The truth may lie in his journey. After bouncing around multiple teams, including the Eagles, Panthers, Raiders, Texans, Cardinals, and Packers, Douglas seems to have absorbed a wealth of knowledge from various systems and locker rooms. That kind of experience is rare, and now it appears to be culminating in Miami. Some insiders believe his leadership emergence was inevitable. It just took the right culture and opportunity. What Miami has given him is a stage, and he's seizing it like a man who's been preparing for this moment for years. One team executive was overheard saying, "He's seen everything the league can throw at you." That wisdom is priceless. Could it be that the Dolphins didn't just sign a reliable corner, but stumbled upon the missing voice their defense has long been seeking? Teammates reportedly feel the shift too. Word out of the locker room is that Douglas's intensity is setting a new tone, even for veterans. Multiple players have allegedly mentioned how practices feel different now, more focused, more urgent. This isn't just about rah-rah speeches. It's about accountability. Douglas has supposedly taken it upon himself to correct technique errors during walkthroughs and call out missing assignments during film review sessions, regardless of a player's tenure or draft status. Some younger defensive backs view him as a mentor, but not in a hand-holding way, in a demanding, tough-love kind of leadership that raises the bar for everyone. It's not every day a mid-season acquisition turns into the emotional epicenter of a defensive unit, yet that's exactly what seems to be happening in Miami. And with a defense that's already loaded with talent, that emotional leadership might be what finally galvanizes them into becoming an elite unit. What's even more fascinating is the rumored reaction from the coaching staff, particularly head coach Mike McDaniel. McDaniel is said to be impressed, not just by Douglas's performance, but by his command. There's chatter that he's privately praised Douglas's ability to elevate the team's intensity without ever needing to be prompted. This is significant because McDaniel isn't known for overhyping players without merit. There's a belief among some within the facility that Rasul may eventually take on captain duties if he hasn't already unofficially. His approach reportedly fits right into Miami's smart, tough, fast mantra. And while defensive stars like Jalen Ramsey and Jevon Holland get more headlines, Douglas is carving out his own identity, not as a flashy name, but as a foundational piece. If the Dolphins truly buy into this dynamic, Douglas could be the dark horse name that defines their 2025 defensive resurgence. Media coverage, interestingly, has yet to catch up with what's unfolding in Miami. While local beat reporters have started to take notice of Douglas's presence, national outlets have mostly overlooked it, perhaps distracted by flashier headlines or quarterback controversies around the league. But those plugged into the team insist that this is not just a feel-good story. It could be the under-the-radar narrative that redefines Miami's season. Some scouts who visited practices walked away stunned by how vocal Douglas is during 11-on-11 drills, acting more like a defensive coordinator than a cornerback. If this buzz continues into the preseason games, don't be surprised if broadcasters start framing him as the Dolphins' defensive brain, a label that could stick well into the regular season. And if the Dolphins become one of the stingiest defenses in the league, the legend of Rasul Douglas might finally break through the mainstream barrier. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't skeptics. A few analysts question whether Douglas's leadership can translate into results when the games count. Some point out that being a vocal leader is one thing, but being the glue that holds a defense together in high-pressure moments is something else entirely. Miami has lofty expectations this season, and fans are tired of moral victories or promising starts that collapse late in the year. If Douglas is truly taking the reins of the defense, the pressure will be on him to help stabilize and inspire. When the team hits adversity, critics warn that he'll need to back up his voice with game-changing plays, especially in tight matchups. Still, even those doubting his impact admit there's something brewing with the Dolphins' defense that feels different. Whether it's sustainable remains to be seen, but it's clear something has shifted behind closed doors, and Douglas is at the center of it. Looking ahead, the next few weeks will be crucial in determining whether this leadership arc becomes more than just training camp buzz. Preseason games will provide the first real test of Douglas's control over the defense. Insiders say coaches will be watching closely, not just for performance, but for cohesion, communication, and trust. Can he keep the unit aligned against live competition? Will younger players continue to respond to his direction under real pressure? And perhaps most importantly, can he help the Dolphins start fast and stay resilient over the grueling NFL schedule? If the answer is yes, Douglas might not just be the Dolphins' best off-season pickup, he could be the X factor that reshapes their entire identity. And in a league where leadership often makes the difference between contenders and pretenders, Rasul Douglas might just be the unexpected catalyst that pushes Miami over the edge. So while the headlines may still be focused on quarterbacks, contracts, and coaching decisions, don't sleep on what's happening down in South Florida. Rasul Douglas is emerging as the voice, the mind, and the heart of a defense poised for a breakthrough. The Dolphins have long needed a player who can bring order to chaos, and it appears they may have found him. The whispers, the rumors, the insider chatter, it all points to one compelling possibility. Rasul Douglas isn't just filling a spot on the depth chart. He's filling a void the Dolphins didn't fully realize existed until now. And if this storyline continues on its current trajectory, don't be surprised if the name Rasul Douglas becomes synonymous with a new era of defensive dominance in Miami. It's early, yes, but sometimes you can feel when something special is starting to take root. And right now, all signs point towards something real. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up!